is Pukeology Podcast, where science meets your hilarious puke stories and the tips and tricks to stop that up-chuckle that you need.
You never know what's going to spew out of her mouth. Here's
my mama,
Dr. PukeNoMo.
Pukeology Podcast, Episode 1, Pregnancy. When does morning sickness start? Want no more morning sickness or pregnancy nausea? Visit our sponsor, nomonausea.com, the only natural way to instantly stop your pregnancy nausea and vomiting now. Today you'll hear some pregnancy humor that may just make you pee your pants, like you don't have to pee all the time anyway being pregnant, with stories like first-class barf, poop and puke in her pregnant pants, and a sea of fluorescent Cheeto nastiness. If you want to learn more about your pregnancy, humor and knowledge is the key to help you survive these 9 months and know we're in this together. You'll find out why morning sickness can start as early as 9 weeks. That you're not alone, and up to 88% of women experience emesis, a fancy word for puke, during their first trimester, and natural remedies that can be just as effective as medication and without the threats of birth defects. Emesis, a fancy word for puke during their first trimester, and natural remedies that can be just as effective as medication and without the threats of birth defects.
Throwing up on a Tuesday? One puke story.
On a recent flight to New York, I was only 11 weeks pregnant and at the height of all-day sickness. We had been upgraded to first class, which was incredible, but nearing the end of our flight, when the seatbelt signs were on, I realized I was feeling horrible. I tried to hold it in, but failed miserably and ended up throwing up all over the amazing, luxurious food I'd eaten into one of those delightful puke bags, and then I had to hand it to an extremely glamorous hostess who looked completely horrified. Too bad she had no idea that I was pregnant. Thanks, Hush Puppy, for your story. I was about 3 months pregnant with my first, and my boyfriend, now my husband, and I go to Olive Garden, and nothing like breadsticks for dinner, so I stuff myself with food as we leave. We can get about 15 minutes from home, and I turn to my boyfriend and I'm like, I really have to go to the bathroom. Meanwhile, I have the kid finally feeling to kick me in my organs inside of my body, including my bowels and my bladder. Being pregnant is great. My boyfriend is like, okay, let's take the scenic route. I looked at him as if I was going to cut him and tell him to get me. The Science of Puke, Pukeology. Pukeology, the science of pregnancy, answering the age-old question of how early does morning sickness actually occur? Well, believe it or not, most people get it between their 6 to 14 weeks of gestational age. But again, all that first trimester garbage is what I like to call it. Sometimes it can extend into second trimester and even third trimester. I was that person that actually ended up having severe nausea and vomiting during delivery. So don't forget to make sure that you have a NoMo nausea band when you're actually going to deliver, if your hospital does not already currently carry it yourself. But up to 80% of women do experience morning sickness in their first trimester, and it can start as early as 4 weeks. If you're a woman that has been suffering with infertility and you are already hyped up on infertility drugs, hormones and or hormonal changes is truly what is causing this upset stomach. So believe it or not, human chorionic gonadotropin hormone, also known as HCG, is the pregnancy hormone, which is made from the placenta that actually nourishes the egg after it fertilizes and becomes attached to the uterine wall. This is the reason why human hormone, also known as HCG, these levels can actually be detected in a blood test. So when you guys ended up peeing on the positive stick, ladies, it was actually 11 days or so after conception. Our technology is getting better and better, but usually it's about 14 days after conception that it can be confirmed from the uterine test. So again, you have to remember that HCG level doubles every 72 hours, which it will reach its peak by the 8th to 11th week. And what does that correspond with? Morning sickness. So again, this is the reason why 85% of normal pregnancies will have an HCG level that doubles. This is also the determining factor when there is a problem such as a tubal pregnancy. This level goes completely crazy and absolutely through the roof. And so this is also how we can tell from a medical standpoint what is actually happening during the pregnancy itself. But moral of the story is, ladies, whenever you pee on that stick and you're making those hormones, and even if your tummy is a little bit upset, it means you have a superhero power. You are actually growing a beautiful human within inside of you. All my pregnant ladies, I kind of want to call you guys superheroes. Have you ever seen that t-shirt that says, "So what's your superpower? I grow babies"? Well, I've actually grown 2 babies myself, and I can tell you that being pregnant is not always the most beautiful glow that we were all expecting. Believe it or not, up to 80% of women get morning sickness in pregnancy, and it doesn't just happen in the morning. So I hate the fact that it's called morning sickness. But let's talk about the reasons why we women experience these sickness, especially in the morning. Well, number one, it's because of the fact that you have a hormonal change. A lot of pregnancies are going to be increasing the amount of hormones that you currently have. In doing so, your body responds to it because of the fact that you have an upset stomach. So look at acid reflux, for example. You are now shrinking the size of your stomach, increasing the amount of food that you are consuming, mainly because we all say that it's around 150 extra calories per day. But come on, ladies, who hasn't been pregnant, stopped by a McDonald's and literally ordered everything off the menu? Tips and tricks to stop the up-chuckle that you need. Pregnant ladies, natural is always best, especially because during the first trimester, those babies of yours that you're growing are inside of what we call organogenesis, or where their organs are starting to form. Many of the anti-nausea medications that are prescribed, unfortunately, have severe side effects, not just on you and your heart, but also on the formation of the baby, as well as contributing to birth defects. Organogenesis is at the 8th week of human conception. Let's talk about some of the different ways that you can avoid getting sick. Foods like ginger, lemons, or even apples. The pectin of the apples is shown to be useful. But me personally, when I'm sick, the last thing I want to do is put anything into my mouth, because that food can actually increase the amount of stomach acids that you're starting to produce. Hence why many women during pregnancy have an increase in acid reflux and keep those Tums next to your bed. Try acupressure instead on the wrist at the P6 point. The P6 point of the human wrist is located 3 finger distance from the first wrist crease in between your first 2 tendons, your pointer and your middle finger tendon. If you want more help to see exactly where to find it, just go to nomonausea.com, NOMONAUSEA.com, and you can see a diagram of where to place it. Acupressure works after about 45 minutes, creating anti-nausea hormones that help you to stop your morning sickness by placing the band on at night. Yes, you heard me. Put the band on at night, and it actually helps to increase the firing of the nerve that lies underneath of it, called the median nerve. This produces beta endorphins, also known as those happy hormones. Acupressure at the P6 point has actually been shown clinically to be equivalent to the effects of Zofran. Zofran was the most commonly prescribed morning sickness medicine by OBGYNs, but again, linking it to birth defects, holes in the heart, murmurs as child. Unfortunately, I used to take Zofran and pop it like candy, and my first child had a birth defect where he actually had a heart murmur when he was born. Luckily, everything was good, but I do want to relay that back to you guys because, again, a lot of these drugs that come out, they don't have the clinical studies behind them to prove what happens later on. Secondarily, you can use peppermint essential oil. When smelled, the aromatherapy itself actually helps to stop the nausea and vomiting immediately. The fastest way into your brain is actually through your nose. Each of these techniques are about 50% effective at reducing morning sickness. Now, if you're like me and have a second little one and don't have the time to put pressure upon your wrist at 5-minute increments, or smell peppermint all over the place, you can just get a NoMo Nausea band. NoMo Nausea is the combination of peppermint essential oil, and it's infused into an acupressure band. The third wonderful combination it has in it is actually distraction technology. You feel cool upon the wrist in less than 2 minutes, and it makes you forget that you were sick in the first place. Plus, you get the instant relief of 30 seconds to no more vomiting, and tertiary, the acupressure on the P6 point to help you not get sick before you actually are sick. So this easy combination that is both stylish and waterproof is clinically proven. 9 clinical trials and 2 publications published proving we are 80% effective at stopping your worst pregnancy upset stomach. Find out more information at nomonausea.com or buy a NoMo Nausea band on Amazon. Thank you all for listening to Pukeology Podcast Pregnancy Edition, Episode 1. So when does morning sickness start? You now know. Tune in next week for our Tuesday episode to find out what's throwing up on a Tuesday and learn about even more tips and tricks. Give us that 5-star review and you'll be happy too. Again, tell me your hilarious puke stories by visiting Pukeology, Pukeology, at nomonausea.com, nomonausea.com. And again, tell somebody that you know that might be pregnant and they can give them the information to give them a comfortable pregnancy. Again, I'm Dr. PukeNoMo, and thanks for listening. Pukeology Podcast, edutainment at its finest.